Hey there YouTube, Travis here. So right now we're in what I like to call the Honda section of the garage. Here's the 1982 Honda MB5 motorcycle, which is almost road ready. Will's 1978 Honda Hobbit. And finally, we have my new to me 1986 Honda Spree scooter. Oh boy, where to start with this guy? So this was kind of a purchase between Will and I. We each went in $120 for it, $240 total. Kind of as a joke. I mean, this thing, it looks so silly, and it's so tiny. It's hard to show that on video, but this thing is small. But it's a two-stroke, and it's got a reputation of being silly. So we thought, hey, what the heck? It's not that expensive. We'll take a chance on it, and this thing has proven to be quite interesting. All right, well, it's pretty dark in here, so let's go ahead and get this thing wheeled outside, and we can do a good overview of this bike. This bike was a nice score because all it took was a new spark plug and a carb cleaning, and it started right up. Even for being Honda's entry-level scooter, it's got some features on it that are pretty cool. And everything works. That's the cool part. So, here's the dash. It's got a fuel gauge, so there's a sending unit in there. Same with the sending unit for the oil. You've got an oil indicator light here when it gets too low. Speedometer, high beam indicator, and turn signal indicator. Just like the Hobbit, you've got, a key right there, then a run stop switch, very similar to the Honda Hobbit. And now this one, so all Honda Sprees are equipped with electric start. It wasn't until 1986, I believe, that they added a Kickstarter, which just pops out right here. Now, in my opinion, that's probably one of the most handy features of the bike, which guarantees that if you have a dead battery, you can actually still start it and you don't get stuck somewhere if you leave the lights on or anything bad happens. Now, despite the fact it was obviously stored outside for some time, this thing's actually in pretty decent shape. It originally was a deeper red, but because it sat out in the sun, it faded to a pink, which is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. But so again, I mentioned it's a two-stroke with oil injection, and that sticker on the front came with it, and it's so perfect. This thing is nothing serious, but it's not trying to be, and that's the beautiful thing about it, and that's one of the reasons I really enjoy mopeds. So this is probably one of the very, very, very few scooters I would actually ever buy. The old adage goes, you sit on a moped like a bicycle, and you sit on a scooter like a toilet. Now, generally, I don't have anything against scooters. I enjoy riding all sorts of two-wheeled vehicles, but this is one of the few ones I could, really see myself riding. Downsides to it, so there's a couple things about this that I really don't like. To do any work on the motor, even to take the spark plug out, you gotta take all these plastics off. And it gets annoying because you think, oh, maybe it's just, you've got a 10mm bolt right here and the side comes off. Not so fast. You actually have to take the rear book rack off. As you can see, you've got some acorn nuts there you have to undo, and it's just kind of frustrating. Let me go ahead and open up this, there's a little area under the seat, and we'll take a look at that. You gotta love your base model. There's nothing to really hold the seat up, but that's okay. So here's your gas tank. Now, one of my biggest dislikes about this bike is actually the gas tank size. It's only like 0.3 gallons, so it only costs like $1.10, $1.15 to fill up. But on the other hand, it actually goes through fuel way faster than any other bike I've ever owned. It's a little disappointing how small that gas tank is. And there's your oil tank right there. And then right behind it is the battery. And of course, the battery that came with this bike was original from '86. And when I put my battery charger on it, it wouldn't even register it as a battery. So it was totally done. So this is the cheapest Chinese battery that you can buy off of eBay. I think it was $18 shipped, and it's listed as a replacement for the aftermarket part. But it works quite well. I have it disconnected right now, and I'll connect it here in a second to show you how everything works, because the key that came with it had a really unusual situation with the key. So it had a Briggs & Stratton key, obviously for some lawnmower or something, jammed in that ignition. Then there was another ignition that somebody had drilled in right here and placed there. Very strange. I do have a set of Honda keys that came with it, but they don't really turn either lock. So what I'm going to do is either hunt down another actual Spree ignition and put it in up front and do it right, or I'll just put a switch in the battery. Only downside right now is so we have the wires spliced together so it runs, but the running light stays on when you shut it off, and I don't want to drain the battery all the way if I can help it. So we got that seat cover back down, and let's go ahead and start this thing up and see how it runs. Now that's a Honda for you. So there she is. Again, stock oil injector has been left on this one, and this thing just runs so well. I mean, I know it's only got 1,600 miles on it, but it's obviously been sitting for a long time, and it's just really impressive. So, on a performance side, this is belt driven like most scooters. However, unlike the Hobbit, it doesn't have a variator that opens and closes. It's almost like gearing. You're kind of stuck with a particular set of gears, except you can't swap anything out. So that makes performance a little difficult for this one. MLM does make a Spree pipe, believe it or not, and Will and I modded the airbox slightly, and we got a couple more miles an hour out of it. And the carburetor is tunable. You can get jets for it. You can adjust needle settings. So we were able to get it dialed in to where this thing has nice snappy throttle response, and it does pretty well. Like I said, I was kind of impressed by it for how small it is and how simple it is. It pretty well delivers. I'll go ahead and we'll take this thing for a ride by here very shortly. So we'll go over starting procedure. Now, unlike a moped, this has a vacuum operated petcock, so you don't have to turn it on and off. It just draws fuel into the carburetor. Gotta set your switch. If you have a key, you gotta do your key. And then we can either use the Kickstarter like we used earlier, or just... And that's it. There she goes. Man, what a fun little machine. So surprising. Alright there, YouTube. Well, I'm going to go for a ride before I run out of gas. Until next time.